Slide 1, Title. Slide Visual, Title. Slide with Dr. Piyush Raja's professional credentials and the RAM Literature and Research Foundation logo. Voiceover. Welcome to this presentation on modern challenges and issues in the Indian education system. Today we will navigate the profound complexities of transforming education for 1.4 billion people. I am Dr. Piyush Raja, founder of the RAM Literature and Research Foundation. Together, we will examine the gaps, reforms, and future opportunities shaping the landscape of Indian classrooms. Slide 2, Current Reality Visual, Photo of students in a classroom with the Indian flag. Voiceover. Let's begin with our current reality, the vision versus reality gap in Indian classrooms. Despite ambitious educational reforms and policy initiatives, many schools across the nation continue to struggle with outdated teaching methodologies. Traditional rote learning and memorization still dominate pedagogical approaches today. Unfortunately, this overshadows the development of critical thinking, creativity, and the essential problem-solving skills needed for the 21st century. Infrastructure limitations, inadequate teacher training programs, and a natural resistance to change create significant barriers. Closing this gap between policy vision and ground-level implementation remains a pressing concern for India's educational transformation. Slide 3, Policy Reform Visual, text outlining the National Education Policy, NEP 2020. Voiceover, can policy change this reality? The National Education Policy 2020 aims to be a game-changer through three major pillars. First, it introduces a multidisciplinary approach, offering a flexible curriculum that allows students to combine arts, sciences, and vocational subjects, breaking down traditional stream barriers. Second, it places a strong focus on early childhood, emphasizing foundational literacy and numeracy from ages 3 to 8. Third, it integrates digital literacy and coding, starting from primary classes to prepare students for a digital economy. However, implementation challenges persist. Uneven adoption across different states, the deep rural-urban divide, and resource constraints present major hurdles. Ultimate success depends on coordinated efforts, adequate funding, and systematic capacity building at all levels. Slide 4, Digital Divide and Access Inequality Visual, a pie chart illustrating urban versus rural digital access. Voiceover. One of our greatest hurdles is the digital divide and access inequality. Over 50% of rural students currently lack reliable access to internet connectivity or digital devices, effectively creating a two-tier education system. The COVID-19 pandemic starkly exposed and widened these disparities, leaving millions of students completely unable to participate in online learning. While government initiatives like the Diksha platform and the PM Avidya program aim to bridge this gap, they face steep adoption hurdles, including language barriers, digital literacy challenges, and a lack of basic infrastructure in remote areas. Slide 5, Workforce Crisis Visual, graphic showing student-to-teacher ratios and classroom settings. Voiceover. Beyond technology, we face a critical workforce crisis centered around teacher shortages and quality concerns. India faces an acute shortage of trained educators, particularly in rural and tribal areas where teaching positions often remain vacant for years. Furthermore, there are significant training gaps. Many current educators lack comprehensive training in modern pedagogical methods, technology integration, and student-centered approaches. This is compounded by high student-teacher ratios. Overcrowded classrooms with ratios exceeding 40-to-1 in many government schools severely reduce individual attention and compromise learning outcomes. Slide 6, Curriculum and Assessment Challenges. Visual, points detailing outdated content and exam-centric focus. Voiceover. Our curriculum and assessment models also present challenges. Much of the content remains outdated and disconnected from real-world applications and emerging 21st-century careers. Additionally, an intense exam-centric focus on board examinations and competitive tests creates unhealthy pressure, narrowing the scope of learning strictly to test preparation. This deep-rooted memorization culture stifles genuine creativity and critical thinking. Educators and policymakers are increasingly advocating for continuous comprehensive assessment models that evaluate actual competencies rather than simple memory recall. This shift toward project-based learning and formative assessment is gaining momentum, but it demands systemic changes in teacher training and examination boards nationwide. Slide 7, Socioeconomic Barriers and Inclusion Issues. Visual, process arrows representing poverty barriers, language challenges, and social stigma. Voiceover, we must also confront deep socioeconomic barriers and inequality.